everybody. This is the first day of quarter two, so we made it past the first quarter, and now we're in the second, so welcome. The do now will be the sheet that I give you guys in class, and the assign yourself, which is homework, will be the discussions on teams, or if you guys missed anything from today's lecture on the notes, this will be a perfect time to catch up. Without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and move on. So as we are in the new quarter, I'm enforcing a new grading policy, right? So there'll be 3 grades a week, right? As you guys can see for number 1, it's in-class assignments. So if you do all 5 assignments this week, and if I see completion, if I see them right, you'll get 100 for the week on those assignments. So I'll be giving those back to you this quarter. I was really bad at giving back assignments, but for now, for the new quarter, I'm gonna be giving it back to you guys graded. Discussions on teams is also going to be another grade that I'm going to be enforcing as well. If you guys do all 5 discussion posts for this week, I don't know, for particularly this week there shouldn't be 5 discussions, as Friday is going to be a writing camp day, but discussions on team there should be 4. But if you do all 4, and if you respond with your post and respond to a classmate, you should get 100. And the binder checks, all notes will equal 100. That's staying the same for this semester, but starting this week, everything will be due on Friday. So I expect you guys to finish all the assignments in class, but for whatever reason, you need to take it home, you talk to me, you let me know, everything's due on Friday. And failure to complete this, well, you guys will not be able to make up these grades. As from quarter 1, I was really lenient with you guys, putting in grades and making up grades, but for this quarter, I expect you guys to do all that I'm asking, which isn't that much. So let's go ahead and move on with today's lesson. Alright, so drum roll please. Today we're going to be learning about the era of good feelings. So, in this lesson we're going to be exploring the historical context and the significance of the years 1817 to 1825 and determine if it was truly an era of good feelings. So by the end of the lesson, we should be able to answer the question that I'm about to ask you on the next slide. As we always have these essential questions. The essential question for today is, was the period between 1817 and 1825 truly an era of good feeling? So like I said in the last slide, you should be able to answer this question by the end of the lecture or in-class lecture. It depends which one you need. But yeah, that's the question for today, and let's go ahead and move on. So like I always say, you guys should be familiar with this picture, as we've gone over George Washington, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, and now we're talking about James Monroe. So James Monroe was the 5th U.S. president. He served from 1817 to 1825, and his presidency was often associated with a period of political harmony. But we will see tensions were rising under the surface as we go into today's lesson. So the election of James Monroe. So this was the last election with the Federalists as a candidate. Okay, so keep that in mind. This was also the last founding father president. So this is really significant to think about. And as we're going through the sorry, little tongue twister, but this was also the last president of the Virginia dynasty. And this was pretty much symbolized as a generational shift into leadership, as we'll find out in today's lecture. So we're talking about the era of good feelings. So the expansion of the economy, as it says, right? So it was characterized as the economic expansion, westward settlement, and the creation of new states. We also see some national pride soared after the War of 1812, which we talked about last week. And it seemed like the country was entering a period of unity. That's pretty much what it's talking about. And you guys can see on the bottom right there, it shows Benjamin Russell coined the term era of good feeling in the year 1817. And that's a beautiful portrait of Benjamin Russell. And yeah, so let's move on. So as we're going through this lecture, we also see the end of the first party system, right? So the destruction of the Federalist Party after the election in 1816 left Democratic Republicans dominant, right? So however, the party was adopted by many policies started by their political rivals. Alexander Hamilton and James Madison, as you guys pretty much just says in the slide right there. So Alexander Hamilton and James Madison is still being talked about in Unit 4 as they play a big part of the era of good feelings. So as I said earlier, it's gonna pop up probably like, let me see, I think I have to click it. Yeah, there you go. I don't like when it does that. I don't know. But anyway, little blooper, let's get back into it. So the title's saying, but there are growing regional tensions, right? So despite of the era positive reputation, regional tensions were surging, right? They were rising. The North relied on exports and manufacturing, as you guys can see. The South had small farmers and major plantations, so like cash crops and cotton. And you guys can see in the West, smaller farmers and homesteads that sent their goods to northern markets. So it was developing on its own identity with small farms and settlements. So these were the growing kind of tensions between the regions that were going on during the time. So in this slide, we're going to be seeing McCulloch versus Maryland, right? So one of the key events that happened during Monroe's presidency was McCulloch versus Maryland case, as we guys can see right there, right? So which questioned the constitutionally of the second bank of the United States. The Supreme Court had to decide if Congress had the authority to establish a bank and whether Maryland tax was constitutional. As you guys can see, that's a brief summary, as I just said. So the second national bank in the year 1816. As you guys can see, just ignore the top for this part. We'll definitely be asking those questions during class. But yeah, that's pretty much what the McCulloch versus Maryland case was. The state appeals court held that the second bank was unconstitutional, basically what I just said, because the Constitution didn't provide a taxable commitment for a federal government to charter a bank. Pretty much what I said, but yeah, let's go ahead and move on. So, ruling Maryland could not tax instruments of the national government. So that's the title of this slide. So the court ruled that the Congress did not have the authority to create a bank under the necessary and proper clause, right? They also decided that Maryland could not tax instruments of the national government, asserting federal supremacy over the states. And you guys can see up there, you see Chief Justice Marshall noted that the Congress, like I just said, powers not explicitly underline the U.S. Constitution. As you guys can see the question up there, you could probably think it to yourself. Do you agree with the Marshall's ruling? If not, maybe you could put that in your discussion for today. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and move on. Sectionalism. That's what we'll basically be talking about in this slide. So this was a growing issue as different regions of the country developed competing interests, right? Particularly around the issue of the economy and slavery. The big questions were asked, were basically asked on the slide right here. What were the economic future of the United States, and should the system of slavery spread to the newly acquired territories? So let me go over this real quick. So throughout the American history, tensions had existed between the different regions regarding the economic policies and position of slavery. As you guys can see Louisiana Purchase from France, once we went over last week. And yeah, you just kind of see different things on this map right here. Texas annexation of 1845. We'll be talking about that soon. But go ahead and write down the notes if you guys missed anything, but I'm gonna go ahead and move on. So in this slide, we're gonna be talking about the American system, right? So the American system proposed by Henry Clay sought to protect American industries with high tariffs, right? So maintain federal revenue from land sales, preserve the Bank of the U.S., and fund improvements like the railroad and canals to unify the nation. But yeah, that's basically what it says right there. And there's another question you should probably be asking yourself. So which two regions of the United States would least likely to support the American system, right? So as you guys can see up here on the slide, it says development of a system of international improvements such as roads and canals, which would knit the nation together and financed by tariffs and land sales. So this is basically what the American system is talking about. But yeah, go ahead and write down the notes if you haven't already, and let's go ahead and move on. We got about we actually just have one more slide right here. So let's go ahead and get going. So this last slide we're going to be talking about is the Missouri Compromise, as you guys can see. So the Missouri Compromise was a major event during this time period, especially during this lesson, as you guys will be doing the assignment for today talking about the Missouri Compromise. So when Missouri applied for statehood, right, it upset the balance of power between the slave states and the free states in Congress. The Tallmadge Amendment was proposed gradual, emancipation. But this angered Southerners. The eventual compromise allowed Missouri to enter as a slave state and Maine as a free state, as we talked about. We kind of talked about the Missouri Compromise last week as well. I think we talked about it during work on a Wednesday schedule. I put together like a little review or an upcoming thing we'll be talking about, and Missouri Compromise is one of them. So in today's assignment, you guys can definitely use your notes as that for reference as well. But yeah, this as Missouri entered a slave state, Maine entered as a free state. This was preserving the balance of everything, as you guys can see on the PowerPoint right here. It says slave states and territories. You guys kind of see that the South is free, it's not free, slave states. And we talked about the reasons why there are slave states, as there's more farms, there's more land, and so the use of slaves is a big must for them. And you guys can see the North and free state territories. So with that's going to pretty much do today's lecture, a total of 12 minutes. But yeah, welcome to quarter two. Let's just try to make this a really good quarter. If you guys didn't do so well in quarter one, don't worry about it. We're going to work really hard during this quarter to get you guys a really good balanced semester grade. It is Sunday night. It is about 10 o'clock. I should probably get some sleep. Thank you guys for hearing me yap for now 12 minutes and 30 seconds. But yeah, I hope you guys had a good Monday. I hope I had a good Monday too. And yeah, let's go ahead and end this. See ya.